Hey guys, Chris of the Polish Geek, and welcome to another movie review. And this time I'm reviewing the live-action Little Mermaid. I finally seen it now that it came out on Disney Plus. I refuse to see it in cinemas because honestly I'm getting tired of all the Disney live-action remakes. I can't really think of any Disney live-action remake that was actually good. Like, I used to really like the Jungle Book 2016 one, like especially when I went to see it in a theater. I really loved it back when I first seen it, but time has not been kind to this movie, especially when you learn it's all CGI. So this is perfect example of the movie that hasn't aged well with time. Like, I guess Christopher Robin was actually pretty good because that movie actually had a heart and an engaging story. So yeah, Christopher Robin was actually pretty good, but the rest Disney live action remakes, not so much. And the Little Mermaid one is honestly no different. It's not a good movie. I guess it's certainly better than Peter Pan this year, and most certainly better than last year's Pinocchio, but that's not saying much. Other than being better than Peter Pan this year, I can't think really this movie has achieved all that much. Like for example, most of the songs in this movie are cheap knockoffs of the original ones, kind of like live action Aladdin. Because Little Mermaid, and it has really awesome Disney songs. It has some of the best songs in the Disney canon. In general, The Little Mermaid is actually one of my favorite Disney animated movies. If I was ever to do a top 10 Disney animated movies, Little Mermaid would most certainly be the top 10. Because yeah, The Little Mermaid is actually certainly in my top 10 favorite Disney movies. Like, the animation is really good. I really love the story of the movie. Great songs, and Ariel is a very likable protagonist, and her curiosity is really cool. And then I really also like her relationship with her father, and then a father-daughter relationship, and how they both have different points of view. Yeah, like the original Little Mermaid is most certainly one of my favorite Disney movies. And even the sequel, Return to the Sea, while it is kind of a rehash of the first movie, it's still nowhere near as bad as this live action trash that I'm talking about. In fact, Return to the Sea, actually, other than being a rehash of the first movie with worse animation, it's not really a bad movie. It's kind of decent, actually. But this live action trash is really no different than other Disney live action remakes. The story, for example, is basically an exact recreation of the original story of the Little Mermaid animated movie, but with none of its magic. And that's kind of seems to be the general problem of many of the Disney live-action remakes. If they don't alter the story much, like Peter Pan, for example, did very much, or Alice in Wonderland, but if they don't alter the story, then they're just exact retellings of the original movie, but without any heart or magic, which is basically gone when you take away the beautiful animation and amazing songs. Like, one of the things I want to address is the castings. There was a huge controversy around Hailey Bailey as Ariel, and I have to say, she's not really good in the role. I mean, I do think she's certainly a great singer, and I actually like her rendition or Part of Your World, so yeah, she's a fantastic singer. But she's a pretty bad actress, and sadly, she's certainly not doing a good job as Ariel, and she doesn't really resemble the original Ariel from the animated movie at all. And in general, most actors in this movie also are bad. Like Javier Bardem as King Triton is just terrible, and whoever plays Prince Eric is also pretty bad, and he doesn't even seem like Prince Eric from the animated one. He just seems like some random good-looking guy. And one of the praises I heard this movie got is that apparently the relationship between Ariel and Prince Eric is apparently improved in this movie, but I couldn't disagree more. Yes, they certainly share a lot more screen time together, and Prince Eric gets more screen time, but that still doesn't mean that their relationship is automatically better. I personally bought their romance in the original animated one far more than I bought it in this one. In the original animated one, I very much felt the chemistry. Here, I did not. If you think the romance is improved, okay, I respect your opinion, but I strongly disagree with that. I personally didn't feel the chemistry in this movie between them one bit, while I very much felt it in the original animated movie. And another thing I have to say in this is that the visuals. Like, the visuals, one of the few things I could give credit to, because admittedly the underwater visuals of the coral reefs and the creatures are actually pretty colorful and pretty to look at, but that alone most certainly does not carry the movie. And another thing I have to say is that Ursula in this movie is just terrible, and she feels so cheap, like she doesn't feel intimidating or anything. She just seems like a ripoff of the original animated Ursula, and don't even get me started on the crappy rendition of Poor Unfortunate Souls. And they also added a plot point that was scrapped from the original animated movie, and this plot point is that Ursula here is in fact revealed as Triton's sister. That was supposed to be a plot point in the original animated movie. And while you could make an argument that they're trying to do something different, except that it doesn't really go anywhere. Like it doesn't feel like the story has changed one bit. It's because by Ursula being Ariel's aunt, they could move the plot in some direction based on that, but it ultimately doesn't go anywhere other than Ursula sometimes calling herself Auntie Ursula. Yeah. So ultimately, this plot point of Ursula being Ariel's aunt doesn't go anywhere, and it just as a result feels completely pointless. Kind of like in the live action Pinocchio, giving Geppetto a deceased son before Pinocchio also felt like it went nowhere. And another problem with this movie is the runtime. The movie is an exact copy and paste story of the original animated classic, but it's like 2.5 hours long, and as a result, the pacing feels so slow. The original movie had the same story, was much shorter, and the pacing was just perfect. The story was flowing naturally and getting from a right plot point to another. But this, as a result of stretching the runtime, instead of feeling like the story being far more developed, it just feels like it drags pointlessly and elaborates on pointless things that ultimately don't lead anywhere, like the aforementioned part about Ursula being Ariel's aunt. Ultimately, add The Little Mermaid to another pointless Disney live-action remakes that ultimately lag the magic of the original movie. Aside from the beautiful underwater visuals, and even then I've seen movies with far better underwater visuals like Avatar: The Way of Water last year, and I was never a huge Avatar fan in the first place. So yes, other than having some beautiful, colorful underwater visuals, and admittedly Hailey Bailey's rendition on Part of Your World being actually pretty well done, other than that, The Little Mermaid kind of lacks the magic of its original animated counterpart. It's an exact same story, but completely lacks the magic and heart of the original story. And ultimately, I'm really glad I haven't gone and see it in a cinema, because that should make the message clear to Disney that I'm tired of their live-action pointless remakes. Not that this message is going to occur to Disney, it's obvious they're constantly going to keep going with it, and just look at their live-action Snow White and the marketing towards this movie, which is just so cringy. Yeah, it isn't. They are not going to stop with those Disney live-action remakes, and they only keep getting worse if the marketing for Snow White is anything to tell us. But these are ultimately my thoughts on the live-action Little Mermaid, and thank you for checking out this video. Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you later, bye!